if you're a federal employee following retirement news, here's the headline this week. The OPM Retirement Backlog surged by 68% at the end of January to kick off 2025. But it's actually been a lot worse, so let's look at it more closely. The OPM Retirement Backlog that's what I call it for short. It's the outstanding unprocessed retirement claims at the agency for federal employees who filed their retirement applications. So the claims, aka the applications, are what are waiting in the queue to be processed. And it grew, as I said, by 68% over the end of December. At the end of December, there were 13,876 pending retirement claims, and that jumped up to 23,277 at the end of January. Now, this is very typical. This happens every year at this time. January is always the worst month, and it's because more federal employees retire at the end of a calendar year than any other time. And actually, the Office of Personnel Management has a term for it. OPM refers to it as the annual surge period, which is the first quarter of a calendar year, January through March. It actually usually goes in that order. January is the worst, February's the second worst, March is least in terms of the number of incoming retirement applications that the agency gets in each of those months. January is always the highest. It has been worse, though. If you look at this table, I'll put it up on the screen here for you. You'll see that since 2020, there have been other years where more claims came in. January 2025 was the second highest in that time period. 2020 had the most, 17,134. But the retirement backlog actually fared the worst in 2022. You can see the total inventory at the end of January that year was just over 31,000. The retirement backlog was generally worse off that year. It peaked at 36,349 at the end of March 2022, and it finished that year at 21,596. So presumably it will get better throughout 2025 as the year progresses. And OPM was starting from a place of greater strength too, because they had gotten the backlog down to the lowest it had been in, I believe, about 8 years toward the latter part of 2024. So they were very well prepared for this. So you have to give them credit for that. Just another fun fact, referring back to the table, that looks going back to 2020, but actually if you go back over the last 13 years, it's been even higher. In January 2013, there were 22,187 retirement claims that came in that month. And in January 2012, it was 21,479. So quite a bit higher still than this year. So why does all this matter? Well, the more delays OPM faces in processing retirement applications, the more it slows down federal employees who have recently retired and are waiting to get their retirement applications processed. And what that means is they're not going to be getting their full annuity payments until OPM finishes completely processing it. They get what's called an interim payment, which is a partial payment. So it's really in everybody's best interest for the situation to go as smoothly as possible. And OPM has put together a number of resources to try to help federal employees. One thing they have on their website is called the OPM Retirement Quick Guide. And that's a short guide that's got information about what to expect during the retirement process, the retirement application process, what happens once you submit your application. And it also has an estimate of how long it's currently expected to take between when you submit your application and when you get your full annuity payment based on the current situation at the agency. And as of the latest check on that, it's 3 to 5 months. And they also have some tips in there about how to have what they call a healthy, quote unquote, retirement application. What OPM means by that is an application that is, quote, complete and accurate package that does not have to be developed for missing, inaccurate, or discrepant information. And one of the key ways to have a healthy retirement application is to ensure that it's free from errors. OPM says this also, quote, you can help reduce delays in processing by submitting your application in advance and by making sure your official personnel folder is complete. If you submit your paperwork early, your personnel and payroll offices will be able to complete their action before your retirement date. So early and accurate. That's kind of OPM's message to federal employees getting ready to submit their retirement applications. Try to make sure it has as few errors as possible in it. I hope you found this video helpful. If so, please remember to like and subscribe, and be sure to check out FedSmith.com for more news and information that impacts you and your federal career.